I don't really pay a lot of attention to what rating agencies say, particularly because I'm old enough to remember 2008. But nevertheless, the major rating agencies, these are the ones that are basically economists and assess, the value of different investments and the impact of potential legislation. William Foster, vice president and senior credit officer at Moody's Investor Service, told Reuters that the two pieces of legislation, that is the infrastructure bill that was just passed and the Build Back Better bill, quote, should not have any real material impact on inflation. Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics, which operates independently from the parent company's rating business, said the bills do not add to inflation pressures. Charles Seville, senior director and America's sovereign co-head at Fitch Ratings, said the two pieces of legislation will neither boost nor quell inflation much in the short run. Why is this important? Because inflation has been Joe Manchin's latest fig leaf du jour as to why he can't yet support the Build Back Better. It was going to be add to the deficit, but then nobody cared, particularly since the first infrastructure bill added more to the deficit probably than this one. And then they were going to wait for the CBO scores, which are supposedly coming tomorrow or Friday. But there's all indications that the CBO scores are going to be within the realm of margin of error as to it having an actual impact on the deficit. Obviously, if you've listened to the show, you know that my assessment of the CBO scores are rather irrelevant. My assessment in terms of where they even going to land. But what's important here from a political standpoint, if you're Joe Manchin, you've basically been saying, I got to get home. I can't hang out with you today because my kid's birthday party's happening. And then someone just showed up and said, oh, no, Joe, actually, your kid's birthday's next week. Oh, is that what it was? Well, actually, you know what? My apartment's flooded. My apartment is flooded.
Wait, we were just there and everything seems fine.
Exactly. Here's Joe Manchin before the ratings agency came out with this stuff. And, old Joe, when he's not riding around in his, whatever it is, his
Maserati SUV. Maserati SUV.
Well, the thing about that is the gas prices kill you.
Yeah, 15 mile per gallon.
And of course, there's nothing like taking your Maserati SUV out for a jaunt to go pick up some milk. And then when you eat, it's sticker shock all around. Here, watch this.
You were just back home for a week. Do your voters want this bill, this big, massive bill right now?
I think my voters in West Virginia, but I don't speak for the whole country. My voters a lot differently, but they're very much concerned. Inflation has hit them extremely hard. They have to drive. Their mileage for driving to work is...
I'm sorry. Is there? Do I have a problem with hearing? Did he ask about, do your constituents want the bill? The bill that would expand Medicare, that would provide them free vision, hearing, that would lower drug costs, the one that would provide help in terms of elder care, paid and parental leave.
Universal pre-K.
Child care. Do they want that? Well, let me talk about my trip in my Maserati for a second. All right, pull it back. Just replay it from the beginning, because I want to make sure I heard what the guy said right.
You were just back home for a week. Do your voters want this bill, this big, massive bill right now?
I think my voters in West Virginia, but I don't speak for the whole country. My voters a lot differently, but they're very much concerned. Inflation has hit them extremely hard. They have to drive. Their mileage for driving to work is quite onerous on them. And the cost, they see it every day. Every day they go up and fill up, it's $1.25 more a gallon. So they're in $3.29, $3.39. Gallon of milk is now around $4 in many places, and it's taking a toll. And I hear it when I go to the grocery store, or if I go to the gas station. They say, "Are you as mad as I am?" And I says, "Absolutely."
You know what would alleviate some of those financial hardships brought on by inflation, which I'm not convinced are actual real things. He must have watched that CNN segment on milk. That's where he got that from. Like a child tax credit, for example, which could offset the temporary rise in gas prices or milk prices, especially when now we're seeing from these rating agencies not going to have an effect on inflation.
To be fair,
Build Back Better.
Joe's mad. He's at the gas station. He's also not eligible for that child tax credit. So that's why he would be mad.
Yeah.
Because I get 60 miles a gallon on this Maserati.
This would be a good moment for Joe Biden to say, "Oh, okay, we've addressed all your concerns. The inflation thing is addressed. Let's pass this thing.
Let's pass this thing." Because if we know that this is not going to contribute to inflation, then the way you could help your constituents is by putting money in their pockets or taking care of expenses for them.
He's just treading water because he doesn't want...
He's running out of excuses.
Well, he's running out of excuses, but he also doesn't want to say, I'm going to pick this apart until I can't pick it apart anymore. Like Igor Bobich, who I believe is a reporter for HuffPost, tweeted out that about an hour ago that he is still a no on including paid leave in the reconciliation bill. And Gillibrand's essentially still trying to negotiate with him on this. But he's trying to pick away whatever he can as the clock ticks on the excuses that he can use. The apartment's not flooded. Your kid's birthday's next week, and yeah, you don't have a funeral to go to, Joe. I think the person you said died is actually alive.
I'm afraid paid leave might create inflationary pressures on leave. No, unpaid. On staying at home. That could get super expensive. He's floundering around, and it's going to be interesting to see how they hammer him on this because we got to get this done. And I also like the fact that what is his name? Manu Arju? Is that?
Oh yeah, the framing.
The massive bill. Meanwhile, tomorrow, incidentally, which is today, they're going to be voting on a $780 billion 1 year defense authorization. It is $25 billion more than the Pentagon asked for.
An increase of $37 billion.
An increase of $37 billion, but more than the people whose budget it is asked for.
You wanted one cherry on top? We're giving you some sprinkles just because we love you.
Dad, can I have $30 to buy a pair of whatever it is, socks? You know what, Mila? Here's 50. Here's 50. And I should tell you that if we were to apply the measure in which we count these things, we're talking about an $8 trillion bill that they're voting on today. Of course, we're 10 years out. They don't have to do it 10 years out. We know it's going to grow exponentially each year. So 8 trillion is probably like an undersell. But
poor Mila, she has to be the Pentagon in this situation.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm
teenagers, right?
Yeah, tell me about it. Cravatron. We're all part plastic trash monster now. Inflation has hit them hard. Try paying $5 a gallon in California. Well, this is the other thing that was disingenuous about Manchin. The increase in price for gasoline, I don't think, is a function of demand-driven inflation. I think it's in function of producers throttling the amount of petrol, not maybe, at least in part as a function of Saudi Arabia and Mohammed bin Salman trying to punish Joe Biden.
Read Ryan Graham and Ken Klippenstein's reporting in The Intercept on this very story.
So, the implications for the consumer, it's the same, right? In terms of how much they got to pay out. But the reason why that's relevant is that it is not a function of people having too much money in their pocket so that they're driving more and the price of gas is up. Joe Manchin wouldn't say, if you have a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico that knocks out a couple refineries or knocks out a pipeline or whatever it is, the idea of Joe Manchin and the price of gas goes up, and the idea of Joe Manchin saying, well, gas is up, I don't think we should pass the child tax credit because it's going to be inflationary. It's just, that's the point. my assessment in terms of where they even going to land. But what's important here from a political standpoint,